Legendary hornman Hugh we got together to remember Mandela and the music that propelled a people's revolution. I was honored to join him playing Nekose Sikalele Africa, the South African national anthem. The story of Nelson Mandela in jail for such a long time, comes out to lead the country. But what was the perception of Mandela when he was in jail? Were you aware of him and what he had done?
We all knew him, from when we were children. When he went to jail, he made one of the greatest speeches ever, It
is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
Freedom is a thing I stand for, and I'm prepared to die for it. And then he disappeared for 27 years.
Mandela went to prison. Musicians like Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba were forced into exile. But both outside and inside the country, music powered the struggle and became the soundtrack of a nation. We're talking about the power of music. If music can change minds and hearts and enlighten people.
Well, the greatest example, again, is that South Africa is probably the only country historically where music was a major catalyst for its freedom.
Can you give me an example of the type of song that you're talking about?
There was a young man called Mini, and he was a major activist, and he was going to be hung.
But on his way to the gallows, Mini delivered a message to Hendrik Verwoerd, the architect of apartheid.
And all the people in the cells as he was going joined him. This guy is going to his death and he's saying to Verwoerd, watch out, Verwoerd, here comes the black man. To me, it's like it's one of the most, probably the most powerful, liberation song I've ever heard.
It's powerful hearing you sing at the end of the day. Watch Out, Verwoerd became one of the earliest anthems for freedom. The music moved and motivated and embattled people. Our civil rights movement had its music, but in South Africa, hundreds of songs rang out. Nanku, recorded by Miriam Makeba, kept alive the spirit of Mandela and others locked up on Robben Island.
The nation's feeling when those guys were all in jail is how much they missed them. Nanku, Nanku Mandela, Nanku, Nanku, Nanku Sisulu. And it says they are all rotting in jail. While we need them here, they are all rotting in jail. Nobody had seen him since the 1960s. By the 80s, you were not allowed to say his name in South Africa.
In the mid-1980s, Hugh was far from home, making music in Botswana, when Nelson Mandela reached out to him. In 1985, he was still incarcerated. He took the time to write you a letter on your birthday.
He just had this letter smuggled out of prison. Here's a guy who's been in jail for 20 years, but he's writing to me, giving me encouragement. I was just stood there and I said, wow. And then I went to the piano and I started singing. Bring back Nelson Mandela. Bring him back home to Soweto. We want to see him walking down the streets of South Africa. But tomorrow. My wife came to me and said, when did you write that song? I don't know it. I said, Nelson Mandela just sent it to me. Bring back Nelson Mandela. Bring him back home to Soweto.
By the late 1980s, the entire world tuned into South Africa's struggle. Through music, the cry for justice was heard by millions.
When we did Graceland with Paul Simon, we played to more than 10 million people who had never heard of South Africa or apartheid before. And it really grabbed the world. The day he walked out of jail, and when he came out, the whole world screamed.
When you're thinking about Mandela, what is the thing that made him able to galvanize everything around him?
When Mandela spoke, when he spoke for us, it wasn't about him. It was about his people.
You know, one country. We are one people.
Mandela really epitomized the symbolism of our freedom. He became the mouthpiece and the amplifier, you know, and the horn.
No matter how